When I entered the room, my heart sank before me. My beloved accessories and clothes were nowhere to be found. Panic took hold of me as I grabbed my cell phone to call the police. Right then and there my mother-in-law burst out laughing, her voice filled with cruel amusement. Predictably upset. "I see what you mean." "Predictably," she said, clearly taking advantage of my surprised expression. Her next words were unbelievable. "Yes, that's right. I cleaned out your things. They were unnecessary. After all, I was speechless. Why would she discard my belongings without my permission, considering them unnecessary? When I was about to confront her, she began to explain, "How long you plan to stay in our house? Get out as soon as possible. I cleaned everything to make your departure easier. You should be grateful." Her words made it clear that the Ma treatment was intended to throw me out. If that was what she wanted, I had no intention of trying to get along with her again. "Understood. I'm going to move," I said. "If you understand, then do it soon. Please move out soon." "Yes, but please give me a week to find a new place." "Okay, I'll allow it. Just make sure you're out in a week." With a week to prepare myself, I started looking for a new home. I would find a place and have my revenge. My name is Barbara and I'm a freelance illustrator. I took the initiative to become a freelancer 3 years ago after graduating from technical school. After working at an animation production company and saving up, I decided to become independent. When I told my husband Ezra about my decision, I was relieved by his positive response. "Barbara, if this is the path you want to follow, I won't object. You did your best. I'll support you," he said. Esdras and I have been together since technical school, maintaining our relationship through different careers and getting married in our 3rd year of working as adults. This year marks our wedding anniversary. I am incredibly grateful for his support. Despite the initial challenges and frequent disappointments as a freelancer, I persisted. I continued to draw and post on social media, and eventually one of my drawings took on an unexpected twist. This led to my rise as a prominent illustrator on social media. Jobs from companies and sticker design apps began to appear. Soon, my monthly income exceeded 22,000 Brazilian reals. I am truly grateful for his encouragement. I told Esdras, "This is the result of your hard work. Barbara, you are amazing." Ezra said, "I can't thank him enough. If he had opposed my decision to become independent, none of this would have been possible. I wouldn't have reached this level of income if it weren't for my persistent efforts. Although I haven't saved much yet, my goal is to buy a house and create my own workspace. While I am grateful for the increase in work, our current apartment is getting more and more cramped, making it difficult to store important documents." One day my husband suggested a potential solution. "Why don't we move into my parents' house? There is an extra bedroom there and now only my mother lives there. What do you think?" I was surprised. "Seriously, are you sure this is okay?" He reassured me, "Yes, I have already talked to my mother about this. Ever since my father left with his lover when I was little, that room has been empty. Mom said it's okay, you using it was a generous offer and I saw no reason to refuse." I agreed to the move, and 2 weeks later we visited his family home. My mother-in-law welcomed us warmly. "Barbara, a while ago," she said. "Yes, I would," I replied, listening to Esdras, "that you are a famous illustrator now." "It's nothing," I said modestly. "Feel free to use the room as you wish." She invited us with a smile. I felt at ease with my kind mother-in-law, and my husband was determined to make me focus on my creative work in this new environment. So a new chapter of my life began in my mother-in-law's house. At that time, I was not aware of the underlying dynamics within the TRS family. Months after moving, I was already acclimated to the new place. "This work is done," I thought, satisfied with the environment. Improved work and a significant increase in my income, everything seemed to be going well. However, 2 months later life took an unexpected turn. My husband was suddenly fired from the company. "What should I do now?" he sighed. As soon as he got home, I was worried. "What happened? Or was there a problem at work? Are you okay?" Was there a problem with the customer? He had been working in sales at a large trading company dealing with industrial products since he graduated from technical school. I initially thought it was a minor problem with his sales performance, but his response was completely unexpected. "I was fired," he said. "What?" I was surprised. "I mean, were you fired?" "Yes," he explained, "but for you have been working so hard. How could this happen?" I asked, struggling to understand the situation. "They said our department was underperforming and that we keeping him was a burden. I was given the choice between a drastic pay cut or a decent severance package. It is Effectively a downsizing, he said. I was speechless. I felt helpless, unable to comfort him. As he faced this unexpected turn of events, the company he had dedicated years to had discarded him so easily. The next day my husband began to spend his time idling at home. I had hoped he would soon start looking for a new job, but he didn't seem ready to take that step. It seemed the responsibility of supporting us now fell on me. Determined to make up for the lost income, I threw myself into work with even more dedication. Sometimes I worked non-stop from dawn to dusk, barely finding time to eat. I wondered if I was trying too hard, but the results were undeniable. At the end of the month, a substantial amount of money was deposited into my account, an amount I had never seen before. I called my husband to share the news. Hey, you don't have to rush to find a job now. We've earned 80,000 Brazilian reals just this month. I think we can get by if we don't spend too much. I said, wow, that's impressive, he said with a voice tinged with surprise, but there was a coldness in his eyes that made me question why I had shared the details of my income with him. The next day my mother-in-law Barbara's persistent demands began. Come here a moment, she called alto from downstairs while I was focused on my work. What happened? I asked, pausing my chores and coming down. She was in the living room and said, do the laundry for me, but I haven't finished it. My work, I replied. You can do that later. You have been quiet until now, but it is not time to do some housework. You are a daughter-in-law. After all, she said it directly in the face of her harsh words. I reflected on her position and realized she was right. I understood the expectations placed on me. I was so absorbed in my work that I had neglected all the housework, leaving it entirely to my mother-in-law. I realized that I could be wrong. I understood. Mother-in-law, I will wash the clothes as soon as I finish this work, I said, true to my word. As soon as I finished my chores, I washed all the clothes and also cleaned the living room. I thought a break like this might be necessary sometimes, but since that day my mother-in-law has become more and more demanding. You are always drawing like a child, she said. If you have time for that, you should go shopping. I can't imagine your paintings selling someday. Her criticisms piled up along with more household chores, and I found myself overwhelmed with daily chores. I was even woken up before 5 a.m. to make breakfast, which led to chronic sleep deprivation. My concentration wavered and my productivity decreased significantly. Although my income had not yet dropped dramatically, I was afraid I would not be able to continue working if this continued. I decided to discuss the problem with my husband when we were alone. His mother seems to dislike me lately. She is constantly nagging me. I don't mind doing household chores, but being assigned tasks from dawn to dusk every day is affecting my ability to concentrate on work. I need you to talk to her and ask her to stop. I asked her to. To him, how annoying, he replied. Why don't you talk to her yourself? Besides, if you can't balance your work, why don't you move to another place? You have a good income. After all, why would you say that I'm trying so hard while you're just sitting around without looking for a job? I replied, feeling frustrated. My husband had a point, but it was hard for me to address these issues directly with my mother-in-law. He ignored my concerns and went to sleep, leaving us without having a proper conversation. And so half a year passed. I was mentally and physically exhausted by my mother-in-law's relentless treatment. Despite my fatigue, my husband showed no signs of looking for a job. My work progress had slowed considerably and my income had dropped to less than half its peak. I can't take this anymore, I thought. One day, overwhelmed, I left home and ended up in a nearby park, sitting on a bench. I felt a small relief. After about an hour, I went home, but the idea of working seemed unbearable. So I decided to take a nap in my room. When I opened the door, I was stunned. What is this? I couldn't believe my eyes. All my favorite accessories and beloved clothes were gone. I panicked and was about to call the police when I heard my mother-in-law's voice behind me. Predictably upset, I see her said in a sarcastic tone. What do you mean predictably? I asked. Confused, her laugh was sharp and dismissive. Yes, that's right, I cleaned out your stuff. It was all unnecessary. I was speechless. Why had she discarded my belongings without asking me? As I tried to process her actions, she continued, how long do you plan to stay here? Just go away already. I cleaned everything up to make it easier for you to leave. You should be grateful. Her words made it clear that all this bad treatment was to get me kicked out of the house. If that was what she wanted, I had no desire to get along with her anymore. I understand, I'll move out, I said quickly. Good, make sure you do that soon, she replied. Yes, please give me a week to find a new place. I asked, okay, you have a week, but make sure you're out after that. She quickly agreed. I found a new place to move in. Initially considering a detached house, I ended up opting for a luxury apartment in a high-rise building. To make a statement, I was leaving not only my mother-in-law but also my husband, who was lazily relying on my income and making no effort to find a job. Fortunately, I had saved money before my income dropped, which I used for this moving. I signed the contract with the real estate agent and was ready to leave at any moment. When the week was over, I packed my bags and got ready to leave. On the day of my departure, I filed for a divorce from my husband. Would you sign this and send it back to the court? I asked him. Wait, what is this? He replied, confused. This is a subpoena from the court. I explained. Why are we suddenly talking about divorce? He asked, visibly perplexed. At first I felt sympathy for you when you were fired, but your refusal to look for a job and your disrespect for how your mother was treating me made me question why I stayed married. Even if that is the case, does divorce mean you are leaving this house? Yes, I said firmly. I didn't. I had mentioned it before, but I am leaving today. But where are you going? What are you going to do? He looked confused and surprised. I already found a new place, I replied, and remember, you were the one who suggested I move. Are you really okay with that? He asked with a mixed tone of confusion and disbelief. I couldn't help but laugh. I'm fine. I was more worried about the future with you. This everything here is past me, I said, convinced. Finally convinced. My husband agreed to the divorce. I felt relieved to be free from the obligation of supporting him. Next, it was time to face my mother-in-law. Before leaving, I confronted her about the abusive treatment. Because you made my life hell. The harassment started after I mentioned my income. There must be something that bothered you, Barbara. Thank you for everything so far, she said with a dismissive attitude. Honestly, I'm relieved I don't have to see you anymore. Your face. Why did you start treating me badly? I pressured. It was just because of my income. It's nothing big really, she said. I didn't like that you were earning more than Ezra. You were earning 80,000 Brazilian reals a month, 1 point more than your husband. A wife should earn less to preserve her husband's dignity. Furthermore, Ezra added, he was paying the household expenses even when he was in difficulty after being fired. He is a good man, unlike you. I was perplexed. All this negativity for such a petty reason. And she believed that my husband was paying all the bills. I couldn't wait to see how he would manage. They were going without me. They were destined to face difficulties soon, but I kept that to myself. Well, now I understand, I said coldly. A wife who can't support her husband should go, though. So goodbye. With those final words, I left their house. On my way to my new home, I stopped at the post office to send the divorce papers back to the court, formally cutting all ties with my husband and his mother. I had no intention of helping them if they got into trouble. As soon as I got to my new apartment, I started packing my belongings. The spacious bedroom and large workspace were perfect. It was time to focus on my work. After unpacking, I threw myself straight into work. A month later, I got a call from my ex-husband. What could he want? I ignored the call because I was busy, but the calls kept coming. Irritated, I answered the cell phone reluctantly. What do you want? I I'm busy right now, said Barbara. Where are you? He asked. I am home. Working. What do you need? I answered. I would like to talk to you in person. Can we meet? I don't see why we need to meet, it's a bother. I replied, about to hang up when I heard my mother-in-law's voice on the line. Barbara, it's been a while, I have something to discuss. Can we meet please? Your voice, usually so assertive, it sounded almost pleading. Reluctantly, I agreed. Okay, fine, but I don't want to leave. Come to my house. I'll send the address to Esdras. After hanging up, I sent the location to my ex-husband, asking me why they wanted to meet me. When everything was settled, I went back to my work. About 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang. They had arrived. So this is your new house, it's amazing. They commented. If you just want to chat, you can leave. If there's something serious, talk. I immediately said, trying to get straight to the point. Wait, open the door, they begged. On the monitor, I saw my ex-husband and your mother. I unlocked the door and let them in. They seemed surprised at the appearance of my amazing house. It looks like a hotel, they exclaimed. Barbara, you live in such a beautiful place. Their reaction was almost like tourists, even though they supposedly had a serious matter to discuss. What do you want? I asked, trying to sound as direct as possible. If there is no real problem, please go away. You are interfering with my work. Suddenly they said in panic, Barbara, we need your help. We can't pay our household bills, even our electricity, gas and water have been cut off. Could you help us? Even if it's just a little bit. Why should I asked. I had no intention of helping them, especially after everything they put me through. Don't mess with me. Why should I help them? I said in disbelief. You live in such a grand place. Can you help us help a little? They argued. We were a family, and I admit that I made mistakes. You can't help us one bit, they said. Their audacity was unbelievable. I worked incredibly hard to get here. I answered my frustration building. Even before our divorce, I was supporting your lifestyle, despite the harassment from my mother-in-law, who made me lose jobs. You wouldn't understand the effort I put into it. You just exploited me and depended on my income. Their silence was the answer I needed. This conversation is over. If you come back, I'll call the police. Goodbye. I don't want to see you again. Wait, Barbara, so what should we do now? They asked, almost impressively persistent. Despite all this is not my problem. You could start working part-time or find other ways to support yourselves. Figure it out on your own. I have already made it clear that I am not inclined to help those who ignored me, I said, my voice rising with pent-up frustration. I yelled at their mother, and their shocked expressions told me that they were finally understanding their situation. They left in a hurry, and I felt a sense of satisfaction as I watched them go. The despair, so different from their previous arrogance, was unforgettable. Helping them was out of the question. I went back to my work, determined to move forward. A month later, I finished work early one day and planned to enjoy some free time. I remembered I hadn't opened the living room curtain, so I pulled it and looked outside. To my surprise, I saw my ex-mother-in-law and my ex-husband walking around my building. They are still persistent, I thought, noticing they didn't come to my door. They were probably aware of my grandfather warning. Curious, I decided to take a closer look. I watched them through the window, and then I made a call. Hello, what are you doing? What do you mean by what are we doing? My ex-husband replied, sounding defensive. We are just hanging out, he said. I can see you from here. Don't make me call the police, I said. We are not here, but we are not doing anything wrong, he insisted. What do you want? You came to ask my help. Is not really. Yes, but I started working as a contractor and I still haven't received my salary. Could you lend me some money? I will pay you back, he begged. He had to be cornered to finally ask for help. You better have found a job. If you are working, you should be able to borrow from someone else before you come to me. Goodbye, go away now. And I hung up the phone abruptly. About an hour later, I heard sirens in the distance. Excited, I went to the window and saw my ex-husband and his mother being escorted to a police car. I had not called the police myself. Someone must have reported their suspicious behavior after this incident. I received one last message from my ex-husband. I am so sorry for everything, please forgive us. I took a deep breath and deleted the message without replying. They had finally understood that I would not be part of the solution to the problems they had created for themselves, and finally they seemed to have completely given up on depending on me. I did not see them again, and I made sure to delete my ex-husband's contact and change my phone number. As I looked around my new apartment, I felt a renewed peace. I had taken control of my life back and left behind the toxicity that had suffocated me. It was time to focus on myself and my goals with no more distractions or manipulations. I was ready to move forward, free and determined to create a better future. Just for me, people. The lesson in this story is super important. It is fundamental to know how to value yourself, to set limits and make difficult decisions, to take care of our mental health and well-being. Barbara went through a hell of a time with a toxic environment and people who only wanted to exploit her. Sometimes life demands that we walk away from abusive relationships, even if that means leaving people who should be by our side. Barbara's courage in walking away from her mother-in-law's husband and not letting herself be manipulated is a great example of self-sufficiency and resilience. Sometimes we need to face the unknown to seek a better life, and this story shows exactly that. If you liked the story, share it and subscribe to the channel for more incredible adventures. Don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and tell us what you think. We love hearing your opinion. Until